I want to go to the text line before we talk about this Bank of Japan stuff. And a couple questions that we have here. Number 178 objectives. Let's, well, not let's take a break. We're going to take a break because it's the top of the hour. But the music's a plan. The music is a plan, and we've got a whole lot more, including what airlines are doing. We've got specifically looking at United. We got energy prices, and also the latest on vaccine research coming up.
Step up to the new standard at Ram Trucking, and you'll see why a Ram is more than you ever thought a truck could be. Well-qualified lessees of competitive vehicles get an ultra-low mileage lease on the 2020 Ram 1500 Classic Warlock Quad Cab 4x4 for $199 a month for 36 months with $3,434
more than 50 of the latest trend-setting styles and sofas and get 10% off with free delivery. The more than 30 recliners Barbos has on display? Yep, they're 10% off with free delivery. New 2020 casual dining set styles are in stock too. And you can discover a whole new world of luxury with mattress sets from Sealy with, of course, 10% off and free delivery. Do the math for yourself. Then head to Barbos through March 22nd and save with 10% off and free delivery. Only at Barbos Furniture on Route 28 in Dennisport and Falmouth Center. Voted best furniture store on Cape Cod.
Barbos, Barbos, for furniture you will live with happily ever after.
If you're looking for a great paying part-time job with flexible hours, check out 2020 Census Jobs. You may have another job, or not. You may even be retired or looking for some extra income, but you can also help make sure that everyone gets counted. So apply today at 2020census.gov/jobs to help strengthen your community.
I am doing all the right things, drinking plenty of water, eating right, and exercising. But month after month, my constipation with belly pain, straining, and bloating keep coming back.
Irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, affects 13 million Americans. Linzess, linaclotide, is a prescription medication that treats IBS-C in adults. Linzess helps relieve belly pain and lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements. Individual results may vary. Do not give to children less than 6, and it should not be given to children 6 to less than 18. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and learn more at linzess.com. That's LINZESS.com, or call 1-800-LINZESS.
Sponsored by Allergan Pharmaceuticals and Ironwood Pharmaceuticals.
WXTK, West Yarmouth, Cape Cod. Available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now #1 for podcasting. 95 WXTK, an iHeartRadio station.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Jim Ryan.
Hey, I have a question for you.
On Wall Street, stocks fell fast and they fell far.
Trading on Wall Street was halted almost immediately after it started. The S&P 500 dropped 8%, the Dow dropped nearly 10%, and the sell-off continued when trading resumed. The Federal Reserve cut interest rates to near zero, but that only seemed to reinforce a sense of panic among investors who are worried about the effect of coronavirus on supply chains and company finances.
That's ABC's Aaron Kaczorski. Health officials are urging Americans to prepare for extended social isolation in an attempt to slow the rate of infection from the coronavirus. In New York City, over 1 million school students are at home, and they will be for at least the next 5 weeks, maybe longer.
Starting tomorrow, the mayor of New York City also ordering the closure of all bars and movie theaters, restaurants and cafes, limited to takeout and delivery. Governor Cuomo urging private businesses to aggressively consider working from home or even close. calling on owners to voluntarily shut down their bar, restaurant, or gymnasium.
That's ABC's Whit Johnston. Now ABC News has learned that hackers reportedly infiltrated the Department of Health and Human Services in an effort to slow down the coronavirus response efforts.
Sources confirmed to ABC News the Department of Health and Human Services experienced a cyber attack last night related to the health organization's coronavirus response.
Yes.
The hacker or hackers aimed at slowing down operations.
The engine smoke, so probably like a broken ring that's all wedged up in there.
Is still
You know what I mean?
investigation.
I got it freed up, but then when I tried to pull it, it was like trying to pull a cinder block. You know what I mean?
The pandemic has reached at least 67. The number of confirmed cases is over
Hard to say for sure.
3,700 that have been
There was
found in
oil.
every
There was
state
oil in it.
except West Virginia.
How often,
At last night's
I don't know if you
debate
have time
between
today,
Democratic
but I
presidential
bought a
hopefuls
post
Joe Biden and
screwdriver,
Bernie Sanders. Biden promised that if he's the
I wanted to
nominee,
change the oil
his
and that.
running
Maybe
mate
it's not a
will
big
be
deal.
a
I just
woman.
don't know what kind of
This
oil
is
it takes.
ABC News.
How many hours do you have on it? Like an hour or like 500?
WXTK News update. Governor Baker ordering new restrictions designed to help stop the spread of coronavirus. All restaurants and bars in Massachusetts must end on-premises consumption beginning tomorrow. Papers also
Just drag it out here. Take me 2 seconds. I'll definitely have time for it.
Through April 6th. Also banning all gatherings of 25 people or more.
How often
you don't have to do that now. First 2 positive cases being reported in Cape Cod. First announced case, a man in his 60s from Sandwich.
A couple hundred, I would say.
The man is the spouse
on the
of
small
a staffer
equipment.
at Barnstable Community Innovation
I think
School,
so.
who
Okay.
has also tested
when they're brand new,
positive.
you definitely want
School
to change it
says
out
the
like you did.
staffer's last day of work was
And
March
then,
6th.
yeah,
All
you could
staff
probably,
and
you could
students
probably go
at the
200.
school
I usually
should
switch
go
over
into
to synthetic
quarantine.
right
Shannon
after
Community
it breaks
Center
in.
closes
So
after
if it's a
it
new
was
machine, I still
learned.
run a
Man who first
conventional
tested positive
until
was
I
in
feel
the
as though
building
it's had
February
enough hours to
29th,
break in, and then I
according to
switch
town
right over to
officials.
synthetic, and
Cape
about
Cod
200
Healthcare
should be
going
good.
into a full visitor ban that applies to Cape Cod
Yeah,
and Falmouth
conventional.
hospitals. Other affiliated programs, exceptions
We'll
made
see.
for end-of-life patients
I'm not
and
in a hurry.
maternity
I'm
patients
looking good, but
and
I don't
children
want to
who
feel
are
as though I'm
patients
piling
must
it
be
on, you know
allowed
what I
for
mean?
revision.
Mentally.
I'll leave in the middle, in the middle bag.
WXTK.
This report is sponsored
by
That's great. That's great. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
Now, your look at NBC 10 Boston's first alert forecast for Cape Cod and the islands.
I'm NBC 10 Boston meteorologist Matt Noyes with your first alert forecast here on WXTK. Today is chilly. I mean, this is like a winter redux. The sunshine battling with ocean effect clouds drifting in off the water. High temperatures only in the upper 30s with a breeze. It feels a little cooler than that. Overnight tonight, mostly cloudy, lows in the 30s. And Tuesday, sprinkles and light showers. Highs do squeeze near 50. Wednesday should be a good day. Maybe some more showers again by Thursday.
You only want to use the best route to drive across town, so do the same when you need to hire. Indeed provides hiring managers the straightest path to the best new employees. Customized solutions like screener questions and skills tests will help you see beyond the resume. Post your next job at Indeed.com/hire.
Yeah, have you met me?
Yeah, never mind.
I was the one that you guys were laughing at like 3 weeks ago when I was stocking up, and I was early. Guess who got all the toilet paper?
Yeah.
Not me. I still don't understand the toilet paper.
I don't either. There's actually no reason for it, is it? I mean,
clearly anyone that's stocking up on toilet paper has never been to India. Or a large swath of the country, or a large swath of the world that just isn't all that familiar with our paper products.
No, I think what I'm going to be really interested to see actually is what has happened nationally with sales of bidets in the month of March. It's just one of those things that it's like, and bidet sales are up 4,000% for March. You know, like
now's the time.
It wouldn't be surprising to see that like the two things that we're spending.
Did we really just open up the 11 o'clock hour with potty humor?
Yes. There are a lot of different ways you could take that, but none of them good. So let's move on to airlines instead. Airlines trying to figure out what the heck to do as they go through an unprecedented shutdown in air travel. Not even, I mean, you go back even to 9/11, where there was a ton of uncertainty regarding the airlines. That was a question of confidence and consumer confidence coming back. This is a question of when are we going to be allowed to fly, internationally, and even are there further restrictions coming domestically on air travel in the near future? Because if what we're seeing from the DoD is any indication, they've suspended an awful lot of travel, even domestically now, for DoD members.
So, I mean, let's just think about Massachusetts-wise for a second here. There is currently a ban on anyone gathering in groups of more than 25.
Airplanes consistently hold more than 25 people.
And you're in pretty darn close quarters there. So I know that there are likely exemptions for all these different organizations, and I don't know that the state has any real jurisdiction over, federally regulated airline industry, but a lot of questions. I don't think anyone's trying to hop on a plane unless it's absolutely necessary anyway at this point.
And the other thing is, I'll tell you that even some of the tickets that have obviously been bought, I still think that you're going to see major, even further reductions in schedules and things like that. I have a cousin who was supposed to be having a wedding in April, just canceled the wedding. Not because they're breaking up.
Yep.
They're still fine.
Yeah, my cousin's getting married on April.
Same date. Weddings canceled there. I have two other friends who have seen weddings canceled as well or postponed. And so obviously all the people that were going to be flying there, A, aren't going to be flying, B, the hotels aren't going to be being, it's just this cascading effect that you are seeing here. And so it's clear that there is going to be some type of support for airlines, because otherwise they're not built to survive a 75% down for 2 or 3 months.
No, I mean, we had to bail out other industries in 08. We might be looking at bailouts of airlines in 2020. If we're getting into the technicals here, obviously seeing tremendous amounts of pressure on just revenue here. You've also seen a number of the airlines taking out cash. Now, a lot of these airlines have lines of credit with major banks, and they pulled the cash, and obviously that's not a great indication on the surface. But speaking with a friend of mine who's a little bit deeper into credit analysis than I am, his point was that all of these banks have stipulations in their contracts to say that they can withdraw the line of credit based on certain situations, such as a global pandemic. And so his take was that
get it while you can.
Yeah, that the airlines weren't saying, hey, we're really strapped for cash, or at least not all of them. There are some that clearly are, but others that are really well capitalized. They were more saying, hey, let's go get this line of credit because we don't know if it's going to be here 3 months from now, and at least if we have it, then it's sitting on our books and we can use it. And now the bank is right in line with us. They're going to try and support us in any way they can because we're holding a few $100 million of their cash.
United, in particular, in the United States, has been one of the most aggressive companies in terms of its plans for what it's going to be doing. They announced last week that they're going to be cutting their overall capacity by half, and in a letter that came out yesterday that CEO Oscar Munoz and Scott Kirby wrote to the employees of the company, they said that even with the planes they're going to have in the air, so even with 50% of their planes not flying, they only expect their remaining planes to be flying at 20 to 30% capacity. So they're pretty much saying, we expect to see an 80 to 90% diminishment?
Let's go with it.
Reduction in travelers during the next 2 to 3 months, at least.
I mean, do you know anyone that hasn't canceled a flight recently? Anyone that's flown on a plane, or let's put it this way, anyone that is still planning on flying in the next 2 months?
A lot of them have significant fuel hedging programs, and so they've already bought a significant chunk of their jet fuel at higher prices for the future. And the second part here is, if you're flying reduced schedules and reduced passenger loads, your fuel demand is going to be reduced to begin with. It's not going to have the same impact to the bottom line as if you were flying full passenger loads and flying full fleets. And so I think when you look at it within that context, that's another piece, that, it'll help airlines, but not as much as people think. Seeing these lower oil prices starting to show up at the pump right now in terms of gas prices. And so if you go to AAA and take a look at the national average on gas prices, we're now at $2.25 on a national level. Compare that to a month ago, we were at $2.44. So gas prices nationally are down about 10% over the last month. There still probably is a little bit of room to go further. I think we're probably getting about 2.5 environment, simply because you're going to have low energy costs, low borrowing costs, and a whole bunch of pent-up demand. The question just is, how long does it take for us to get comfortable kind of getting back to normal business? And then how long does it take to get supply chains back to full production?
Well, to me, and how badly is the consumer harmed from this? Does the consumer get permanent damage? Because in 08, they had permanent
And also, we've got Public right after this.
The coronavirus is sending shockwaves through the stock market. Is the worst over or yet to come? Keep it tuned right especially if they divorce in the future. Don't put yourself in an awkward position of having to buy back your own home just to protect it from creditors. And put you in a more advantageous position to avoid probate down the road. Call right now. 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or download your guide immediately by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. Don't put your home at risk. Call 866-848-5699.
Hi, this is Chuck Zada from the Armstrong Advisory Group. In our brand new guide for the month of March, share some critical information about 5 hidden
retention score. 3 out of every 4 people that leased a car from us 2 or 3 years ago came back and did it again. We've been trying harder to do things your way, and sometimes you don't pay attention to results, and this caught us completely by surprise. We're letting you buy or lease your vehicle the way you want to do it, and that's a lot of what's going into these reports, so that's exciting, and we want to thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Hyannis Honda, West Main Street, Hyannis, 778-7878.
One customer bought a Ridgeline, and he was really pleased with the way things went. He went home and he talked so highly about the experience that his wife, she dragged him back to the showroom so she could lease a CRV. And so, I mean, that makes it really fun. And we see that all the time. We know you have a lot of choices out there. And the fact that you come back again and again says a lot. You're not a customer, you're part of the family when you buy at Hyannis Honda.
Why are credit unions so involved in supporting their communities?
Credit unions are all about people helping people. In New Hampshire, they've contributed almost $3 million to Make-A-Wish. In Rhode Island, they've given more than $2 million to Special Olympics. They built children's beds for the Massachusetts Coalition for the Homeless and playgrounds for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Delaware. Credit unions really do care.
Visit BetterValuesBetterBanking.com and discover how credit union values create a better banking experience.
Most of us pay our fair share of taxes. Income taxes, sales taxes, excise taxes. It will affect you if you're retired. Call the Armstrong Advisory Group and ask for their new free guide, 5 Hidden Retirement Taxes. Call 800-393-4001 and get your copy today. That's 800-393-4001. Or download it right now at armstrongadvisory.com. American Incorporated. Member FINRA SIPC and advisory services offered by Securities America Advisory. Advisory Group and the Securities America companies are unaffiliated.
If you're looking for a great paying part-time job with flexible hours, check out 2020 Census Jobs. You may have another job, or not. You may even be retired or looking for some extra income, but you can also help make sure that everyone gets counted. So apply today at 2020census.gov/jobs to help strengthen your community.
At the American Lung Association, we're fighting for a day when we can all breathe easier.
We're fighting for clear skies over every city and healthy lungs throughout the country. We're fighting to free millions of Americans from the addictive grip of tobacco and the devastating effects of lung disease. The American Lung Association isn't just fighting for air, we're fighting for all the things that make it worth breathing. And we can use your help. See what you can do at fightingforair.org.
News Radio 95, WXTK.
Financial Exchange. This week in 1751, founding father and fourth U.S. President James Madison was born in Port Conway, Virginia. So we're going to be asking a trivia question about President Madison. This is a good question.
I like President Madison.
President Madison. What essays did John Madison write to help? John Madison helped write in order to convince states to ratify the U.S. Constitution. One of my favorite collections of U.S. history out there. What essays did John Madison help write in order to convince states to ratify the U.S. Constitution? Text us at 63566. This is an outstanding trivia question. The fourth person, actually no, this is an easy one. The eighth person with the right answer is going to get a $50 gas card. Again, please text the right answer to 63566. Mike, we were talking about lower energy prices in the last segment. Let's talk about one of the real questions that has popped up during all of this, which is low energy prices obviously are going to be really domestic ones. Of course, a lot of those companies had to borrow money in order to finance their initial operations. Who's left holding the bag?
A diverse group of people, but largely regional banks are the ones that you want to worry about here, and it obviously varies quite a bit. I don't think there's a whole lot of, New Hampshire regional banks that are carrying a lot of energy debt, but I would suspect that when we look at things a few months from now, we're going to determine that a lot of regional banks around those areas have made a lot of loans to those banks. You also pointed out that a lot of private equity and hedge funds have been funding this quite a bit.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of shadow lending that goes on in this area where it's not on bank balance sheets, but it's other, financial organizations that have been doing a lot of this. And, the scale of it isn't to what we saw in the mortgage crisis, so I'm not worried about overall financial stability, especially with the Fed being, very proactive on that end. But I think that when we're looking at, hey, what's going to happen, you are going to see a lot of these small regional banks having some problems here. I think you're going to see some hedge funds that get blown out because of this, especially ones where, they were levered to this sector of the economy and this kind of debt, thinking, hey, here's something that's kind of, interesting to think about. 2 months ago, we were wondering if we were going to see oil going to $100 because of the stuff with the U.S. and Iran. Yeah. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
And how long ago that feels now that, people were talking about, oh, we could see $100 oil with the Strait of Hormuz closed. Well, problems have sure changed, huh?
Like, that's got to be one of the least enviable jobs, is trying to be an
energy analyst.
Oil or energy analyst. I mean, how are you supposed to predict what two guys in a room decide to do on oil prices?
No, thank you.
How are we supposed to predict OPEC's actions? That is a group of highly volatile individuals. Speaking a little bit more about those regional banks, there is an ETF, of course, that tracks that overall sector. That's nationwide regional banks. They're not concentrated in any one area. That share price off of its 52-week high, which was reached back in December, is off about 42% at this point in time. So again, this is a group of nationwide regional banks, not any concentration in the oil sector. Nonetheless, down nearly half on the combination of coronavirus and the energy sector.
Fiat Chrysler and Volkswagen announcing that they are going to be halting production throughout parts of Europe, pretty much stopping, well, just about all of it for Fiat Chrysler. Volkswagen has already shut factories in Italy and Spain at this point, and so again, when we talk about the impacts that we're feeling here, it's not just on the demand side, but also you're going to see supply side disruptions through the rest of the year. These are not the kinds of things that can just have you can't just snap your fingers and get these supply chains and factories going back to normal. You're going to have disruptions through the end of the year, even if people start getting back to work in 2 or 3 months.
And this is where I again go back to the consumer, because depending on how long this lasts, Fiat Chrysler, Volkswagen, I'm sure they can afford to pay their employees for 2 weeks. You get beyond that, and then that's when you start looking at layoffs. That's when you start seeing these things. I don't know anybody specifically in the auto sector here domestically, but a friend of mine is an event planner. A good friend of mine is an event planner, and she has had her hours cut by 20% and her wages cut by 20%. And in addition, she works on commission. So all of her events that were canceled, she's got a salary plus commission. All of her events that were canceled for the spring, she's no longer collecting on. Matt, you had something?
Yes, a little bit of breaking news here. The EU has proposed a ban on non-essential travel to the region for 30 days. So the EU has just proposed a ban non-essential travel to the region.
To the region?
Yes.
So
Bloomberg and CNBC
to the EU, but you can leave it.
So that means that 781, who texted us about their niece flying from Ireland, probably shouldn't. Well, unless they can't get back.
Exactly.
Yeah. Full disclosure, my brother's in Germany right now.
Honestly, if there's one place you want to be in the EU,
for his health,
it's probably Germany.
I just don't think I'm going to see him, when he was planning on coming back in April. Like, that's probably not happening.
There's just so much uncertainty, but yeah, so CNBC and Bloomberg both have that.
508 just texting in, what about people refinancing mortgages with low rates? Interestingly, one of the things that I've seen over the last week now is actually mortgage rates that have ticked up slightly.
And kind of bottomed.
And there are a couple reasons for that, potential reasons for that. I don't think any of us know fully why we're seeing it. There are two theories that Mike, why don't you tell your side first in terms of what you've seen, just on kind of the fixed cost of those, that the underwriting?
Yeah, well, so there's a cost to originate a loan, right? You have so many people involved, the process of underwriting. If anyone hasn't done a mortgage application since the financial crisis, the amount of time, effort, and money that has to go into this, it takes a while. And so, one thing that I'm seeing is that the banks aren't willing to go below a certain rate because they have fixed costs associated with, dealing with these mortgages regardless of the cost of borrowing money.
The other piece that I've heard anecdotally is that mortgage brokers are so overwhelmed with this influx of new business that in order to try to manage the flow, it's supply and demand. Hey, if you have a whole bunch of demand for your service, you can raise prices. And so in order to just try to weed out people who are not as committed to refinancing, they're saying no, instead of offering rates of 2.5, we're going to do 2 7/8 because we can. And so I've actually seen in some cases, I'm just pulling up a list of a couple places that I've looked recently, I'm seeing some cases where you've actually seen mortgage rates ticking up over the last week or two, as opposed to going down in conjunction with Fed rates and things like that. So it's been really interesting to see. Yeah, I'm seeing it here again where I had seen rates in the 2s on adjustables in a number of places recently. They're up in the 3s now.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because you would expect to see rates a lot lower than this, and if you're planning on refining, it's less of an incentive now.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we have the trivia answer and also some shops that are going to be closing as a result of coronavirus.
The Financial Exchange is live on Facebook, so make sure to like our page and watch the guys break down the latest on the markets every day beginning at 10 on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
WXTK Local News.
I'm Mike Patrick with this WXTK News update. Governor Baker ordering new restrictions designed to help stop the spread of coronavirus. All restaurants and bars in Massachusetts must end on-premises consumption beginning tomorrow. All public schools in the state ordered to close at least through April 6th. Baker also banning all gatherings of 25 people or more in an effort to slow the spread. Harwich Fire Department issues a statement about a recent social media post talking about a potential case. Fire Department says the post that says a firefighter in the town has been quarantined for COVID-19 is not accurate. Testing indicated the firefighter has the flu and is at home recovering but not under quarantine. Fire Department says there is a strong potential for inaccurate information to be shared in the coming weeks. They're asking people to verify information they receive on COVID-19. Sandwich's Town meeting scheduled for March 23rd moved to April 13th. Due to coronavirus concerns, Sandwich is the second town to postpone. Tisbury postponed its March 31st meeting on Friday as well. I'm Mike Patrick, News Radio 95 WXTK.
This report is sponsored by ExpressPros.com.
Now, your look at NBC 10 Boston's first alert forecast for Cape Cod and the islands.
I'm NBC 10 Boston meteorologist Matt Noyce with your first alert forecast here on WXTK. Today is chilly. I mean, this is like a winter redux. The sunshine battling with ocean effect clouds drifting in off the water. High temperatures only in the upper 30s with a breeze. It feels a little cooler than that. Overnight tonight, mostly cloudy, lows in the 30s. And Tuesday, sprinkles and light showers. Highs do squeeze near 50. Wednesday should be a good day. Maybe some more showers again by Thursday.
We'll check Cape Cod traffic next on News Radio 95 WXTK.
Losing sleep over a stressful job or a bad boss? It's time to get to know Express Employment Professionals. More than 500,000 people find work with Express each year. Connect on the Express Jobs app or expresspros.com.
Hey folks, I'm Jeff Cutter.
And I'm Jen Thornton. We're from Cutter Financial Group, a registered investment advisor.
Did you know that since 1945, there has been a 5 to 10% loss in the market 77 times, or about once a year? The time to get back to even is about 2 months. Not a big deal. 10 to 20%, about 27 times, with the time to get back to even about 8 months. Still not a big deal. When you hit 30, 40, even 50% loss, it takes you well over 6 to 7 years to get back to even. That may be a big deal for you. For the average investor, by the time you get back to even, there's a chance that you're heading south again.
At Cutter Financial Group, our combination of strategic and tactical investment strategies use quantitative data designed specifically to be defensive in the bad times and opportunistic in the good. This helps our clients increase their probability of financial success. Call Cutter Financial Group today at 508-388-7175 or visit us at cutterfinancialgroup.com.
Folks, you need to call us today.
Life provides enough surprises. Answering the phone or retrieving the mail shouldn't be one of them.
There were times that we knew that we were going to be getting additional statements from the IRS, but now we're to a point that we no longer have to worry about going to the mailbox. And that's a very good feeling.
Scott and Kristen had back tax issues, so they called Peter Arnold and the local professionals at Cape and Islands Tax Relief.
He was able to settle with them without making any payments for our back taxes. And now we're to a point where we are current with them.
I'm a CPA with a master's degree in taxation. I know how to help you out of this nightmare, but you need to take the first step.
The offices of Peter Arnold are off Exit 7 in West Yarmouth and Derby Street in Hingham and at Cape and Islands Tax Relief.
Not for your emotional needs.
Thank you. I was going to try to bring this all back to the everyday person, and that to me is the answer.
I like that phrase. I should copy that. That was good. I made that up.
Okay. Yeah, you can copyright that.
Yeah.
But you know, at the end of the day, go back to your plan. And one, did you have a plan going into this, or is it just kind of willy-nilly? If it's willy-nilly, then it probably needs to, look at it, figure out a plan. But if you had a plan, ask those questions. Ask those questions of your own financial plan. Did I count on a 30% or 40% or 50% market correction? Because if there's any financial advisor or anyone out there telling you that this market won't go down another 10%, won't go down another 15%, I would really call into question their feelings on all this. And I'm not saying that it will. I'm just saying I don't know.
It could get 15% better, get 15% worse.
Yeah, we could swing in either direction, and we seem to be swinging that severely on a weekly basis. And so, if your plan was built for that sort of thing, then all right. If you're worried about, but on the other hand, if you are worried about the world coming to an end because of this, if you're worried
We're not the
about
right show for you.
Yeah, if you're worried about society coming to an end, and
there are YouTube channels for that.
Yeah, and you're sitting in a gold ETF because of that. Well, my question there is, what do you care about the stock market then? What does any of that matter? If your feeling on all this is, hey, this is going to bring the world to an end, yeah, we're not the right channel for you, and you probably shouldn't be investing in the markets.
The White House just canceled the Easter egg roll. I know that's not a big deal in the broad scheme of things, but I had to put it out there. Easter egg roll is canceled. I've never been very good at it, but was never invited to the White House either.
Now you have an extra year to practice.
They still won't, just like Jeopardy, they won't take me. Store closures. I know obviously we're seeing in the New England and even now down into the tri-state area, pretty much all restaurants, bars being shuttered. We had New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut also close all gyms, casinos, and kind of on down the line. But even without them, you had Abercrombie, Nike, and Lululemon, Under Armour, Urban Outfitters, Hollister, all closing their stores, effectively saying, look, we're going to shut our stores just so that you don't have to decide whether or not you're coming in.
Yep.
They're still paying their workers, which is great. Okay, still paying their workers.
What I'll say there is for now.
For now, yes.
I mean, again, that's great. You can afford to do it. I'm glad you're doing it. But how long can that really last? You know, can Nike pay every single one of their retail employees for a month and a half?
I don't know how much profit is there with Nike. Like, you do wonder how far these companies can actually go.
Well, okay, so let me rephrase that. The difference of can Apple afford to pay their retail employees? The answer is yes. Will they? Do they have the wherewithal to do so? And are they comfortable with the backlash of not doing so, I guess, is the question.
And one of the benefits when you're talking about these companies with scale, you know, Nike's still going to be able to sell shoes online. If anyone's buying Abercrombie stuff, they can still go online. So you can still get the sales. The tougher putt is for the local businesses that that need people coming in order to do business. Like I've come back to barbers and hairdressers twice today where I sit there and I say, how is that business going to work over the next month or two? And do those businesses, you know, unlike Nike, which has other sales channels and, you know, they might have, you know, a line of credit they can tap, your average barber probably doesn't have a line of credit at the bank that can, you know, get them that far. Like, it's just, you wonder about those types of businesses an awful lot, and I don't have a solution for it. You know, I just, it's tough when you're in the middle of it to be able to do the right thing. And I know that no one wants to do the planning on the front end when things are good, but when times are good, that's when you need to be developing your contingency plan. So regardless of, you know, how this goes, take some lessons from this, and that the good times never last as long as you expect, and the bad times don't either. Okay, this too shall pass either way. But when you're going through, if you're a business owner right now, start going through and saying, okay, what do I want to do on the back end of this so I'm better prepared the next time something happens? Not that we're going to have another coronavirus in this exact way, but there will be something that pops up 10 years from now that disrupts business. What are you going to do to make sure that you can get through that better than this time? Same thing on the family level. How are you going to build a better budget so that you can get through what happens the next time that we see an economic disruption?
Yeah, there are lessons to be learned here. And yeah, our business has been, you know, trying to think of this for years, which is we have no idea what's going to cause the next market downturn and next unemployment scenario. But when it comes, how are we going to be prepared for it? And that's the point here, is that, you know, anyone that was talking about the fact that, well, maybe we just won't have these giant declines anymore in the market, that's just not how these things work. We will continue to see volatility, I think, in perpetuity.
Folks, I know that obviously things are a little bit crazy right now, but I do want to talk to you about the fact that, look, at some point things are going to get back to normal, and there still is normal financial planning that you need to be doing. And specifically, the Armstrong Advisory Group this month has put out a guide dealing with what we call hidden retirement taxes. It could be anything from Medicare premiums that might go up if your income goes up. It could be Medicare surtaxes, as well as also dealing with what we call the widow's tax. If you have a big age difference between you and your spouse, and you have a lot of IRA assets that are subject to required minimum distributions, if you pass away, the tax brackets shrink dramatically, and your spouse could end up being in a situation where they're paying tax at a higher rate than when both of you are alive. Armstrong Advisory Group has put together a guide on these topics and a number of other hidden retirement taxes so that you can actually do some planning during this time to make sure that you're setting yourself up for financial success in the future. How do you get the guide? Two ways to get it. The easiest one, honestly, right now, everyone's working remotely. Go to ArmstrongAdvisory.com. It will be way easier than trying to call in to get the guide. So I'm going to push everyone today to ArmstrongAdvisory.com in order to get this guide about hidden retirement taxes. All you have to do is go to ArmstrongAdvisory.com, you click on the monthly guides button, and you can download it instantly right there. So if you're stuck working at home, if you're stuck, you know, not being able to do what you want to do, we got some great reading material for you. This is how you socially distance. You read the Armstrong Advisory Group guides from the comfort of your home and your own computer. Again, go to ArmstrongAdvisory.com, click on the monthly guide button, and you can download it instantly for free.
Securities offered through Securities America Incorporated. Member FINRA SIPC and advisory services offered through Securities America Advisors Incorporated. Charles Zotto, representative. Armstrong Advisory Group, Cushing & Dolan, and the Securities America companies are unaffiliated.
Story out of the New York Times that apparently the Trump administration was trying to persuade a German firm developing a vaccine for coronavirus to move its research work into the United States. In fact, looking to potentially offer a large sum of money for them to move that firm to the United States.
That's a really good way to piss off a lot of people.
You know, it's on one level.
I get why you're doing it.
On one level, you understand it because you say, "Look, we want to make sure that our people are safe and protected." But I kind of hearken. I'm going to use the word hearken. I hearken back to the period both during and after World War II, where Europe came calling for help, and for a while we said, "No, you're on your own." But eventually we said, "You know what? We're in this fight." And then on the back end, with the Marshall Plan, we helped to rebuild Europe. Part of that was, to try to diminish communist influence in Europe. But part of that was because we said, no, this is what we need to be doing. This is the right thing, and we want to be, on the right side of helping our allies and our friends here. And I do wonder that when we look back at this, and I'm not saying this just about the United States, I'm saying this about everyone. We're continuing to kind of look internally for our solutions, and the answer is going to be found by realizing that this is a global problem. It started in China, it spread to Italy, it spread to the United States. We're all in this together because of how interconnected our supply chains are. And if we simply say, hey, we want to make sure that we're helping ourselves and not anyone else, we're going to find ourselves with not a whole lot of friends on the back end, okay? And so what I want to do is, hey, let's get all the really smart researchers, all the nerds at MIT, all the nerds at National Institute of Health, all the nerds at the CDC.
I'm going to run
Put them in a bunch of separate rooms, isolated from each other, in constant communication through wireless means, and give them the tools they need to fix this. Then let's build the tools that we need to actually, create the vaccines that we need at scale and the masks that we need at scale. And then let's not only help the U.S., let's send that stuff everywhere else so that we can actually be the heroes. That's what I want. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about someone doing just that. Jack Ma, the former CEO and founder of Alibaba, to talk about what he's doing to help with the fight against corona.
The major averages have been pummeled and are significantly cutting into the gains made last year. How much more can the market take? The latest on the coronavirus and how it's affecting Wall Street continues next on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
For most people, preparing for retirement entails setting aside as much of your hard-earned money as possible to enjoy your later years. However, there are hidden retirement taxes that can cut you off guard. Hi, this is Chuck Zada from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and the information in our brand new guide this month is critical to your ability to avoid significant retirement planning pitfalls due to hidden taxes you may not be aware of. This month's guide walks you through Medicare premiums and the infamous Medicare surtax, as well as Social Security taxes, the widow's penalties, and capital gains taxes on home sales. Don't let potential exposure to these hidden taxes derail your sound retirement. Call our office today at 800-393-4001 and get your copy of our free guide about 5 hidden retirement taxes. That's 800-393-4001, or you can download it instantly from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
Securities offered through Securities America Incorporated. Member FINRA SIPC and advisory services offered through Securities America Advisors Incorporated. Charles Zotto, representative. Armstrong Advisory Group, Cushing & Dolan, and the Securities America companies are unaffiliated.
Stop wasting time coordinating landscape services because Horticultural DNA provides weekly lawn maintenance, plus irrigation installation, excavation, and hardscapes, turning your dreams into a reality.
For landscape design, construction, irrigation, or excavation, Horticultural DNA is the only landscape contractor you'll ever need.
Make your property an oasis and let Steve and his team build and then maintain your beautiful gardens and outdoor living spaces.
Give us a call. We're Horticultural DNA.
HorticulturalDNA.com.
Thinking about getting healthier, sleeping better, or losing those last few pounds? Think Noom. Noom is a totally new approach that uses psychology and small goals to help you make lasting change. Backed by science, Noom shows you the why behind your decisions and habits and gives you the tools to change them for good. So get started today at Noom.com. Noom.com. Change your thinking. Change your habits. change for good. With Noom.
Yeah, one of the best things about the advent of St. Patrick's Day is the fact that spring is just a week away. Hi, this is Glenn Orman at Oliver's and Frank's Tavern in Wallingford. If you enjoy St. Patrick's Day for the more conventional reasons, like corned beef and cabbage, we've got the menu for you. In addition to corned beef and cabbage and the bread variety, we'll be making and serving a traditional Irish lamb stew, both are served with fresh baked Irish. We'll also be offering a regular menu, which includes another Irish favorite, a slow roasted lamb shank. Oh, and let's not forget, Easter is just a couple of weeks after St. Patrick's Day. We'll have a nice variety of Easter specials for you about the bell breaking. We do take reservations for Easter, so give us a call at 508-362-6062. Oliver's and Frank's Tavern, open 7 days a week year-round on Route 68, right on the line of Frank's Tavern. Oliver's and Frank's Tavern, serving Cape Codders and visitors since 1983.
36 days. That's how long it takes to find dinner next time. Glassdoor can help you quickly find the right job for half the residents. There's 62 million job seekers. Glassdoor only matches you with qualified candidates who have the skills and experience your small business needs to grow. And Glassdoor hires are committed. They're 30% more likely to stay with your business longer. Go to glassdoor.com/hire. Glassdoor. Find the right fit for your business.
Dear veterans, thank you for a great experience and for your support of the military and veterans.
Thank you so much, Vetex. Our family has gone through a lot the last 2 years, and this gave us a nice break.
Every empty seat at a concert, game, or a special event is a missed opportunity to say thank you to a veteran. Give your extra tickets to Vetex. Give something to those who gave. For more information on how you can make a difference, go to vetex.org.
News Radio 95 WXTK.
Member FINRA, SIPC, and Advisory Services offer through Securities America Advisors of Michael Armstrong, representative. Armstrong Advisory Group and the Securities America companies are unaffiliated.
Knowledge is power, and it can also make you some money. Get your knowledge on right here. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, let's get to this story about Jack Ma, who's the Alibaba co-founder. He has said that he's donating 500,000 coronavirus testing kits and 1 million face masks to the United States. In a tweet yesterday, he also showed a plane taking off from China, sending the first part of those masks and tests to the U.S. And so, you know, we're starting to see some leadership from kind of business leaders as well, to a certain extent. I'm still a little surprised that we're not seeing quite as much in terms of personal pledges like this from U.S. business leaders right now.
Yeah, at least you're not seeing it publicly. I do assume that there's quite a bit going on with the Trump administration and all of this. I know I listened to an interview about... Have you heard anything about our the stock, like the stock that we carry of all these different like medical things in these stockpiles throughout the United States?
It's not really enough. Oh no, not the military stuff. No.
So you're right. It's not that, but it's these. I believe they're military stockpiles for all sorts of different stuff, and it's certainly not enough to treat all this. But they have, you know, millions of face masks and flu vaccines, and it was actually really interesting to listen to, because there are an undisclosed number of these stockpile locations at undisclosed locations throughout the United States. I was listening to an interview about it, and they were interviewing...
It's like Pokemon Go, people just looking around trying to find...
Right, they were interviewing the guy that used to be in charge of it, and they'd ask him questions about it, and be like, well, I can't really tell you how many of those we have. I can't really tell you how many stockpiles we have. You know, there'll be some that'll help out, but they've got, you know...
So the worst interview ever.
Respirators and ventilators. It was just fascinating to listen to, because, yeah, they couldn't really tell you anything, but they do have a lot of that sort of stuff sitting aside. But yeah, I mean... Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, we haven't heard any committed pledges from any of these companies, but I'm kind of operating under the assumption that they are supplying stuff directly to the U.S. government.
Well, and I'm even just thinking, you know, funds and things like that. Like, I look at Amazon, and I'm going to pick on them a little. Well, I'm both going to pick on them, but also say there's a huge opportunity. With a company like Amazon that has such great infrastructure, I'm looking at like, okay, if the CDC can produce, millions of test kits per day or per week or whatever it ends up being, where they can finally get these up to the numbers you need, send them to Amazon and just have them send them to every Prime member's household.
Yeah.
Have them, send a return box to mail them back to Amazon, get them to the CDC, and that way you don't have to go anywhere for testing. You just mail this out to every Amazon Prime household, and you cover like 80% of the United States then in terms of number of people.
I mean, that's a good idea, and let's give some credit here. The administration's trying to be creative. That whole, the press conference they gave on Friday where their Walmart is committing their parking lots for drive-through testing. So, I mean, we're finding ways to get creative. That is a lot more creative. I don't think we have the ability to mail out tests right now based on just the number of them that exist. Really, the tests at this point are and need to be reserved for healthcare workers.
Yeah.
Is your main concern.
Yeah, but that's what I want to see is like, hey, we got like this great company that does all this logistics work. Right? Let's use that stuff, Let's use that to kind of figure out how to beat this thing. Let's take a look at markets before we go further, just because we're getting close to the top of the hour. We got the Dow off about 1,700 points right now. If that sounds bad, we were down about 2,800 points just after the open, so it's gotten better. The S&P is off 187 points. The NASDAQ is off 537. So we're kind of trending around 7% down right now. We've been down as much as about 12%, as little as about 5%. So we're kind of in the middle of that range and looking for a little bit of direction right now. We do have gold making a little bit of a rally off its lows. We were down about $50 an ounce earlier in the day. We're now only down about 7. Bonds also making a move off of their highs, going from 0.79% to 0.83.
Oil recovering a bit too.
A little bit of an oil recovery too. So that's where we wrap things up today. We're back at it tomorrow on the Financial Exchange. Stay healthy, stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, thank you.
Paying less for any type of funeral service is a very good reason for you to choose us. I'm Joe Casper. Calling Casper Funeral Service is absolutely your best choice when you are faced with the need to make funeral arrangements. Why spend more than is necessary? The funeral business has been the one industry where people were afraid to get a second opinion. That was then. This is now. Choose wisely. You can choose our $1,395 complete cremation service, as well as every other funeral service choice, for which we also charge less. It matters what you choose to do, and who you choose to do it with. Closure should provide you emotional peace and comfort. You read the label on a can of soup. You count calories in a cupcake, but you don't compare funeral costs? Why not? Check out our podcast. Visit our website, CasperFuneralServices.com, and click on the link to our Death Perception podcast with Joe Casper. Is knowing and understanding all your death perception choices good for you? You bet your life it is. Call Casper Funeral Services at 800-314-1890. I'm Joe Casper.
Hi, I'm Matt from News Radio 95 WXTK. Can we talk about you for a minute? Tell me about your business. What is your product? Who are your customers? I'd like to find out more about you and your business and tell everyone who listens to News Radio 95 WXTK more about it. A lot of your competitors are already on the air, but honestly, I'd rather be talking about you. Call my friend Richard Andre today at 508-862-3521 or email richardandrade@iheartmedia.com, and I can be talking about your business every day on 95 WXTK, which reaches 9 out of 10 people every week. Again, call Richard Andrade at 508-862-3521 or email richardandrade@iheartmedia.com, and together we'll let everyone know about your business on 95 WXTK.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they're the right hire. Indeed will also give you the sticky frog, which will suddenly leap and stick to the face of the perfect hire. Yeah, okay, there's no sticky frog. But skills tests, that's a procedure.
See why independent research by Silk Road shows Indeed delivers 3 times more hires than any other job site. Visit Indeed.com/promo today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company helps you customize your home. We only take the premium, unlike those that pay for your Indeed, pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
WXTK, West Yarmouth, kickoff. Available everywhere with the iHeart Radio. Now, number 1 for podcast 95, WXTK, iHeart Radio station.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Trevor Ault. The governors of 3 neighboring states, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, have united to enact uniform policies during the coronavirus crisis. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo saying they're intended to prevent the spread of the virus.
We all agree that there will be no crowds with gatherings of over 50 people. So if you can't do a party in New York City, you can't do a party in New Jersey, you can't do a party in Connecticut.
In addition, gyms and movie theaters in the region will close as of 8 this evening. Restaurants and bars will close for eat-in services and from now on be available only for takeout and delivery services.
The CDC now recommending no gatherings of 50 or more people as top health officials warn it could get worse before it gets better. President Trump urging calm, asking people not to hoard those household essentials while many store shelves across America are wiped clean.
ABC's Whit Johnson. 5.3 million Californians who are in higher risk categories for COVID-19 are now being told they must isolate at home. United Airlines announcing a 50% cut in flight capacity for April and May. In a letter to employees, the country's biggest carrier